KV Kumar. Welcome to ITV Gold. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you very much, Aditi. It is an honor to be here with you.
Well, it's an honor to have you because we have a lot of questions for you. There's little time, so let's go right into it, Mr. Kumar.
Sure.
My first question to you has to be about the Indian American International Chamber of Commerce. You're the founding chairman and the CEO for the foundation, the organization. So the first question to you has to be about, tell us a little bit about this Chamber of Commerce and why did you decide to create it? Take us a little bit back into history about it.
I was the Washington, D.C. Tri-State Chapter president of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce at that time. We had a visitor from India, Mr. Harishankar Singhania, one of the leading businessmen from India. And he said he thought, U.S.-India relations should be on a national basis. And he advised me, why don't you create a national organization? Because there were some local chambers, and he wanted to have a centrally located chamber in Washington, D.C. to coordinate. I thought that was a great idea.
Oh, yes, of course. And then tell us about how big is this Chamber of Commerce? How far are you spread? Who do you really represent in that sense?
There are 600,000 Indian American owned or operated businesses in the United States.
Wow.
And we hope to capture a majority of the group of those people. And our chamber went through certain changes over the last 30 years, at different time intervals. And, people didn't take it the way it should have gone. And in 2017, they summoned me back. The board said, KV, it's your time to really bring it back. Since then, I took over towards the end of 2017, and we started the first chapter of the chamber in Atlanta, Georgia. And very nice of Dr. Kulkarni to host it. And we had the Minister for External Affairs for State, Dr. V.K. Singh, who came and inaugurated that one. We had a lot of other important people from the United States and the state of Georgia. And from there, we started a chapter in California, one in New York, and one in Arizona. Now we are in the process of starting almost 14 chapters in the nation. Without the COVID, we would have probably have at least 5,000 members by now, but that was kind of set us back. But we do have offices in New Delhi and Kolkata, Mumbai, and Bangalore. And we are planning to establish offices in Singapore, Dubai, 7 African countries and 5 Latin American countries, and 17 Asian countries, and 6 European nations.
You obviously saw and clearly saw a lack of representation of the community in the world of business and entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And, you have really been focused on that and you're pushing more and more people in that path. When you were founding this Chamber of Commerce, what was something that you definitely saw was missing? And what did you want to target? And are you happy with where you have reached with that?
I'm not really happy with what we have reached, but we are on the way to great success. And I think your question was, why did we start and what was missing?
Yes.
The answer is really, we were not very well connected between US and India. We were not very well connected. There were bits and pieces of organizations doing things. And we weren't really connected. And we mainly concentrate with the growth of small businesses and entrepreneurs. And connectivity is the main thing that we are working on. Connecting people with businesses, corporations, entrepreneurs, the governments together, bringing them together, both within the US, between US and India, between US, India, and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And thanks to Dr. Sudhir Parikh, who has been a great asset to us. And he also agreed to take over a new role as the chairman of IAICC PAC, which is going to play a very major role in our chamber to support good candidates at local, state, and national levels.
What is your biggest goal with this chamber?
There is no one biggest goal,
Right.
but there are few goals,
Yeah.
few biggest goals. The first one being better US-India relations. With that better relationship, we can accomplish better business dealings, trade and other arrangements between the two countries. But we are not satisfied with just the two countries. Between US and India and the rest of the world, that's what we are working on.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about those bilateral economic relationships that the chamber deals with.
Yes.
How are you looking at the relationships right now in terms of trade and investment between these two countries? And where do you think the governments need to focus on so that the chamber could also help out?
Yes. When you go back in the history, until I would say George W. Bush's time, the trade relations with India was normal, but not really greater. And it picked up, in the George W. Bush's administration. Obama continued that one, and Trump continued that one. Of course, now Biden-Harris administration will definitely continue with that one. We have come a long way. When I first came to United States, we had about 50,000 Indians in the country. Today, we have a diaspora of 4 million plus. And when I look at the how our relationship between the two countries has improved, a lot of Americans didn't know. And I tell you one more thing though. When I first came, there was only one Indian who was a vice president at ITT corporations with a chauffeur-driven car.
Oh, wow.
And this was in 1968, 69.
Wow.
And when he came to one of the functions in New York, we all rushed to see his limousine. So, see, from there, today we have CEOs from so many big corporations.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to keep on mentioning the name. And also, it's not self-serving to talk about ourselves in that sense.
Right.
Indian Americans have done extremely well. And Indian Americans are respected very much in the United States now.
Definitely. Let's talk a little bit about small businesses owned by South Asians and South Asian entrepreneurs. Obviously, COVID had one of the biggest impacts on the small business industry. We are in New Jersey right now. A lot of the South Asians owned businesses here, and they were directly impacted by it. And we saw that happen all across.
Yes.
How did you sort of analyze that entire situation, and what did the chamber do for at least the member body that it has?
I can tell you that because having served as an executive committee member of the U.S. Small Business Administration, I have understood the difficulties on both sides. What the constraints on the SBS side, on the constraints on the business people's side, but no one had predicted or even thought of in their wildest dreams what was to come under this pandemic for the small businesses.
Right.
Some of these businesses, not only for Indian Americans, but also for the Latinos and others, and other Asian groups, where people were paid in cash as expenses. So they couldn't show the expenses as a thing, to justify some EIDLs and PPP loans and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of small business owners didn't know how to fill up the forms.
Yeah.
Since April of last year, 2020, until recently, I have traveled nearly 27,000 miles by car, going from place to place and sitting down and actually filling out the loan applications and telling them what to do under these circumstances. That's what the chamber is doing. We are not show-off chambers, and we are not show-off organizations. There are a lot of organizations with a lot of money. Millions of funds comes to them. They spend their money in hosting incoming delegations, outgoing executives and things like that. But we don't do that. We concentrate on doing the actual work. And because the chamber has done a number of initiatives, we worked very hard for the US-India nuclear treaty. And we have done a lot of work on US-India trade relations, US-India Defense Pact. And we did a lot of work on the last one, the STA one, Strategic Trade Authorization one, which put India with the same level as the NATO countries, along with NATO countries. And that means India can procure goods and services from the US without going through middle people, meaning directly.
Yeah, they're directly communicating.
Yes. And this helps a lot of artificial intelligence, companies dealing with artificial intelligence and others. Oh, wow. It helps in the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, Department of Agriculture, Department of Health and Human Services, to name a few.
So what is, according to you, the future of the India-US bilateral trade relationships? How far can it go?
There are no limits. India is still the 9th largest business partner for US.
Okay.
It has a long way to go. And I will be happy to see India as number one trade partner with with the US, replacing China.
Wow, that's a big one. That's definitely a big one.
I would like that. But it's not much. For example, Prime Minister Modi ji said that he wants $5 trillion economy.
Right.
It will be sooner than later.
Oh wow, that is amazing.
I think India is going to be a major player. Yeah. I wouldn't call it number 1, 2 like that, because that has no meaning really.
Right.
It will be one of the 5 most powerful powers, economic powers in the world.
Who do you give the credit for that to?
I give credit to the Indian people who make it possible, because yes, the government does the work.
Right.
Prime Minister has done a great job, and the ministers have done a great job. The government officials at various levels have done a fantastic job, okay? And they are still doing.
Yes.
But at the bottom line is the people at the bottom level who are doing this one.
Yeah, and that's so true. Can you take us back to growing up in India and finding that passion for community service, and also this passion for economics and trade and all the things that you very confidently talk about? Where did all of that come from? Talk to us a little bit about how was it growing up in India for you?
My grandmother was blind. My grandfather was old, and I used to take care of them. And that led me to being of service to people who are elderly and needy people. When I first came in 1968, the first thing I did, in addition to joining a school and getting a job, the first thing I did was to go to one of my father's friends and ask them, how can I help? And there was a mayor in Washington, D.C. called Walter Washington. He had a group of volunteers. I joined that group under a lady by name Mildred Ferguson. And I went and asked her, look, I am free weekends. I have no problem. I want to help the elderly people. So she connected me. I worked for 7 years as a volunteer. Wow. And during the weekend, I used to take the elderly people for walks. I used to drive them from their homes, especially in the southeast and northeast of Washington, D.C., to the waterfront and drop them there, and they would keep on walking and bring them back home. I would go and clean their houses. I would go and buy their groceries. Wow. And I would walk with them. And all these things helped me a lot. And so far, I have done nearly 150,000 hours of volunteer work.
Wow.
And I am a survivor of brain injury.
Oh, wow.
And I suffered for 10 years between 1992 and 2002.
Wow.
And during that time and after that, at the request of many brain injury associations, I have served on the boards of several brain injury associations, several governors, and several mayors and others on this subject, and several brain injury associations. In 1996, the U.S. Congress passed TBI Act, Traumatic Brain Injury Act, and I was one of the strongest supporters of that, for which I received the Millennium Award from the Brain Injury Association of America.
What was in the act? What was the part of the act?
TBI Act was to help people with traumatic brain injury. That helps about 6 million Americans.
Oh, wow. Each year?
At each year.
Each year, wow.
Currently there are about 6 million. It may be 5 million at that time. There are about 6 million people with brain injury and its effects. You wouldn't believe how hard it is on people, not only on the patients, but also on the families and the friends.
Caretaking is not
Absolutely.
easy.
Absolutely.
You've been a caretaker and you've cared for the communities in many ways. That's a very emotional process to go through.
It sure is.
How do you sort of balance yourself during that time? And how do you not let the emotions at times get to you so that you can serve properly?
One day I got a call from the president of Brain Injury Association in Arizona at 12:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And I picked up the phone. I normally sleep at 11, so I was asleep, but I picked up the phone. He said, "This is John Philippi." I said, "Yes, John, what can I do? Why this call at this time?"
Right.
"There is a problem. There is a young man who is going to commit suicide. I want you to go with me." He drove me probably more than an hour, somewhere in the rural area in Arizona. And this young man was going to commit suicide. We were able to avoid that one for him.
Wow.
And it's a very emotional thing, okay? But I told them, I lost everything I had when I had the head injury. But I did not sue Coca-Cola company, nor the driver of one of the vice presidents who were driving me. We didn't sue.
Why?
Why to sue them? It was not their fault. Some unemployed truck driver came and hit us.
Yeah.
What is his fault?
Right.
I wasn't there to make money out of that.
Right. Of course. How do you feel about the nonprofit world, especially when you're looking at India and the US and the underserved communities in both the countries? Do you think there is enough resources and access for people that need it?
Not really, no. No. The resources are few. Resources, unfortunately, goes with certain, organizations. As I said, they do more of entertainment than doing the work. And really, the funds should really go to organizations which does the work. For example, I helped US and India, US Small Business Administration and Indian SME get into an MOU in 2007. They were trying for 2.5 years, and the SBA administrator asked me, "Can you help us with this one?" We did that.
Wow, that's amazing. So
And,
you've been helping from day one.
Yes, I don't want to say me. We have an organization, we all help.
Right.
It's a teamwork. I don't really want to take the credit for myself.
Yeah. What do you have to say about South Asian-owned small businesses and entrepreneurs in this country right now? Obviously, we have all struggled, making it in this country. It's never easy when you are an immigrant. But what is this? Where are they right now in the stage of the economy, on the stage of the world, like in this country? Where are they right now?
Asians are doing pretty well.
Yeah.
In general, okay? But there is that small portion of Asians, including Indian Americans, who needs to do better. And that's where we need to concentrate on to some extent. And also, we need to collaborate more. We are not collaborating with each other group. They are doing something, we are doing something. Left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, vice versa. If we combine our efforts, speaking about that, I think India should really concentrate more and more on Africa, Latin America, and other Asian countries that we haven't done in the past.
Why is that?
Because there's a lot of opportunity in doing so. It will benefit the countries who are developing in those regions, and it will benefit India in terms of importing things that India needs. And it's a win-win situation. And in fact, I was talking to some of the officials in the government of India at various levels, at the parliament level, at the ministerial level, at the businessman's level, when I was there last month. And India is considering seriously about that.
Oh, wow.
In fact, Mr. Chaudhary, who is the chairman of External Affairs Committee in the Parliament, he came out and told me, I was stunned. I was really stunned to hear that he wants to do more. He's proposing in Africa and other. In fact, US should have done a lot more before. We lost the opportunity. I've been telling at least several administrations, from Herbert Walker Bush administration, to do more in Africa and in Latin America. US failed to do that in the past.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of political issues that they have too, so...
Well, whatever the issues are, but there is one issue which is a compelling issue, humanitarian issue.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it benefits us too. It's not, when you help somebody, it's not a one-way street.
Yeah.
It helps us right back.
Yeah. And when you are talking about these countries that you think India should focus on, how do you think these countries are responding to India?
Well, China took a big lead on these things with Africa and other countries.
Yeah.
They invested heavily. It may be a little bit late, but not too late to go and establish. Yes, it's never easy to do something, which we haven't done. But why do we have to do? As I said, it's A, mutually beneficial for both India and the other countries, US and the other countries. B, it's on the humanitarian reason.
Yeah, that's so true. We have to help people, right?
Absolutely.
That's like such an important part of it. I just have 3 more questions left here for you. I want to go back into your life. You are the recipient of 2015 Ellis Island Medal of Honor Award, which is a huge deal in every sense. In this country, it's one of the most reputed awards you can get. Can you take us back to how that day was and what it felt for you?
I hope they continue that one. My God, it was a beautiful event. It was an event of my life. I tell you, I haven't seen anything more colorful than that.
Wow.
It was beautiful. I know that Dr. Sudhir Pari got it before me, and he can tell you the same thing. I hope the pandemic hasn't changed that one. But you know what? Whoever is the recipient of those awards just shows how much they are appreciated. Sometimes there is no monetary benefit for us when we do work. Most of the time, there is no monetary benefit at all. But there is this kind of thing. I was also nominated for Padma Shri Award. I didn't send the application. I had to put it on the computer. I didn't do it. Okay.
So maybe that could be something next you can do.
Well, I don't know about those things, but I'm not interested in going after something.
Yeah.
If it comes my way, that's something.
Yeah.
So even I think in 2008 they had nominated me for the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. I didn't send the papers. I had to send our information and things like that. I think something happened. I was out of country most of the time, and I didn't have time to do it. I didn't do it.
But then 2015 came, and it happened.
It happened because I had some time, and I thought I should do it.
Yes, of
And
course.
and my friends who nominated me, a couple of members of Congress and senators, they said, "KV, you have to do it.
Yeah.
People should know that you have done this."
Do you think a lot more community members of the Indian diaspora are now being recognized for their work more than they were before?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Sometimes, if you are head of an organization, you get it, and that kind of thing should stop. They should do it more on the performance of the people who does the work. I think that is more beneficial for them.
Yes.
I think Mr. Modi is doing that one. I saw a poor farmer getting that one, another person, of no significant social background getting it. But for some reason, it is always given to people with some social standing.
So you want that
Chairman of
changed?
this, president of that kind of thing. And there are a lot of people, unheard, unsung heroes,
Yeah.
who have done a lot of good work behind the scenes. And
Well, thank you for the service that you're doing, and I hope you continue to do that because you have so much passion for it.
it is not because of the awards I do,
Yeah.
it's my passion.
Yes.
That's why I do that.
And the passion is so important. My final question to you has to be about this whole industry of young entrepreneurs of the South Asian community that we're seeing in the last decade. A lot of young South Asians want to do things on their own,
Yes.
and they want to have unconventional paths. They don't just want to have a conventional career. What is your advice to them that you wish you had gotten back when you started? What could you tell us?
Okay, I'll leave my side behind that, and I will answer your question, because the reason is times have changed.
Yeah.
When I was at their age, I didn't have the facilities they have. I didn't have the knowledge they have. I couldn't acquire the knowledge they have or they can acquire. For example, to do an internal rate of return, when I was a research assistant at the World Bank, I had to spend nearly weeks on one project. I can get it in less than 5 minutes now.
Right. Of course.
Variations. So going backward is not a good thing. But I tell you, the younger generation, yourself included, you are all very bright people. And I used to go and talk to various students at various universities, including Prince George's County College and various other universities I've gone to. And I tell them one thing: nothing is beyond your horizon. Don't give up. Never give up what your dreams are. But follow your dreams with a plan of action, and whether it's doable or not, and how you are going to approach, and never give up on that.
Yeah, that is such.
If you decide what you want to be tomorrow, Aditi, you can be. And there's no way anybody should tell you that you can't do it.
That's such great advice. I think I need to hear that a little bit. It was amazing having you here with us. I would love to close this interview by asking you, what are your hopes for this new coming year for yourself and the Chamber of Commerce that we've been talking about? Where do you think things are going to go?
My first hope and pray is that in the world, people are happy and safe.
Yes.
And that I am willing and able to serve until I die. I'll be a volunteer. And I am 76 years old. I still work 18 hours a day.
Wow.
7 days a week. And I enjoy doing what I do. If I didn't enjoy, I wouldn't do it.
That's true.
But the important thing is what the chamber can do. If we can make 10 entrepreneurs every year, I have accomplished that one.
Wow.
I will be happy to assist, and we have done a lot of mentoring for youngsters, entrepreneurs, and a number of them have been in very high positions now, and And when the time comes, they will talk about it. And I just want to tell you that Dr. Sudhir Parikh has taken a new role in our chamber as chairman. He kindly agreed to chair the IAICC PAC, which will do a lot of good for youngsters. And also, not only in business and in all walks of life, even in politics, our Indian Americans should be on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. I'm talking about the United States.
Right.
We should be on both sides, and we should serve the country what is best for everyone.
Yeah.
But we should never forget what is good for others should be done by us today. I remember this, an old man was planting a coconut tree in 190-degree heat in Andhra Pradesh.
Okay.
And a fool like me went and asked him, "Hey, you're an old man. Why are you planting coconut tree? You can never see the benefit of that." He said, "I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for my grandchildren."
Wow.
That's the objective of our chamber, to create, connect, and progress,
Yeah.
and make entrepreneurs.
Well, that is amazing. We'll be sure to display the website of the chamber so that young entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs
I have
watching
one more thing that
Yes.
we are going to celebrate. We were supposed to celebrate our 30th anniversary last April, for which the president and vice president were going to participate, both in the White House and outside. And because of COVID, this was in April, end of April last year.
That was very intense.
Because of COVID, it
Yeah.
did not happen. I hope the current president and vice president will join us to celebrate our 30th anniversary in October 2022.
Oh, wow. Well, the date is far enough to hope that we'll be good with COVID.
I hope you will come and MC one of our events.
Yes, definitely.
Is that a promise?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us on ITV Gold.
Thank you very much.